Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. This is the last of the recap videos that I'm doing for this year, and it's all the miscellaneous whiskeys that I haven't already talked about. So I'm going to have things like Indian whiskeys, Chinese whiskeys, Japanese whiskeys, Canadian whiskeys, random things like that. Whiskeys from other parts of the world. First things first, we're going to start with Indian whiskey. Now, these are going to be less ranked among each other, but I'll just kind of give a quick recap of them. So this is the Paul John Christmas Edition 2020. What a great bottle of whiskey this is. And as I alluded to on the video, this has slightly dwindled as the course of the year goes. I find that I open this one the most on live streams when I'm randomly joining other people's live streams and we're just talking about whatever. And they're like, hey, Bill, pick something, off your shelf. Like this one actually has gotten picked a couple times. So I definitely think this one's worth it. If you could still find this, I can say completely that you should pick up the Paul John Christmas Edition 2020. Now, I know that they did the 2021 this year. I didn't get a bottle of that, but I would imagine it's probably pretty good. Next, we're going to go to the Paul John Nirvana. You'll notice a couple of Paul Johns this year. So this is the Nirvana. It's about a $30 Indian whiskey. What? Right? So that alone kind of makes it an interesting buy. It's an entry point into Indian whiskey. I keep telling you guys, buy Indian, right? This is the one to start with. So it's just good. Like it tastes very tropical. It's going to have tropical fruit notes, pineapples, guavas, like mango, things like that. And it's also going to have a bit of a spiciness that you get from just that, at least in my opinion, the speed that they age it at, because it's hot there. They can actually age things a little faster than they do, say, in Scotland, where things tend to take a little bit longer. All right, third, and I don't have any more of this anymore, but I talked about the Mathuna, which is a $250 bottle of Paul John. And I laugh a little bit only because it's just so expensive for me to ever give any like real suggestion on if you should buy it or not. But I had a small sample. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It's a limited edition, and $250 is a price point that I don't necessarily feel comfortable, even if it was the best whiskey I've ever had, really saying you should definitely go buy this. But that's your judgment. I enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to put that out there for that. Next, we're going to move into Japanese whiskey. So this is Nikka coffee grain. Funny thing happened with this one. I don't really love this. But boy, do other people love this whiskey. And everybody was very respectful in the comments and such. There was really no problems or anything like that. It was more just, I think this was probably my most disagreed upon video this year. And people just really enjoy this. And that's fine. I'm glad that you do. One of my major gripes was the price point over this. I think it's a $70 bottle for what I deemed to probably be like a $40 bottle worth of whiskey. If it was $40, I would love this. But I don't love it at $70. It is what it is. Should you buy it? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to probably do the other one. What is it? The malt. The Nikka malt. And we'll see. We'll see between the two if they're, which one's better or if they're both worth getting. All right. Next. What do I want to do? Should I do Canadian or should I do other? Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little interlude here, or a little intermission with the biggest waste of money that I had this year, or one of two biggest wastes of money I had. This is Yamato, and this is not whiskey. It says it's whiskey, pretends it's whiskey. It's definitely not whiskey, according to the rules, like the laws of Japanese whiskey. And this isn't one of the whiskeys that got caught up in the whole, like, oh, now Nikka from the barrel is not whiskey because it's Scottish whiskey, Scotch. This is just plain old breaking the rules. And although the decanter is very cool, it was a waste of money. So everything from Yamato is not going to be officially actual Japanese whiskey, so you might want to avoid it, but that's up to you to make a decision. I, for one, just think it's kind of a cool bottle, but whatever. Waste of money. Speaking of waste of money, this right here is the Go Along whiskey from China, which is interesting enough. It looks cool. It's got a cool decanter, but it's 5 years old. It's sent up from Australia as a single malt from Australia. And then they actually take the grain and they make the whiskey up in China. So I have not done my research, I'll admit, to know what exactly Chinese whiskey has to be. But I suspect, because it's still in its infancy, that it is likely very loose. That being said, I judged it based off of the flavor and what is in the bottle. Is it any good? The answer is not really. It's very watery and it's boring. And for $100, you're paying for the decanter. And it's a cool decanter. And it's a big box, which takes a lot of space on my shelves. It's actually moved to the floor at this point. It's floor whiskey. This one's not worth your money by any stretch of the imagination. So skip this one. Let's save what I would consider the best for last. And now, if you're watching this on Friday, then you would have probably already seen my live stream that I did with Nick Taylor on Found North Whiskey. This is batch 1 and batch 2. I ended up doing a live stream with Nick Taylor on both of these. It almost makes me sad to put this among most of these other whiskeys because these are just far superior to everything else on this table. And I don't know. All right, let me just give you some quick metrics on these in case you missed this. Batch 1, 16-year-old cask strength rye whiskey, bottled at 57.1%. It's 66% rye, 30% corn, 4% barley, matured in Hungarian oak, and it's from Canada. It's basically this guy, Nick Taylor, and his brother. They ended up starting a company where they just have connections, like they know people, and they're able to get this crazy old Canadian whiskey by the barrel. And then they're kind of making what they want and doing exactly that and putting it out. And unfortunately, it's not covered across the whole of the United States yet. It's getting there, but it's just like so good. It's so good. Anyway, so the other one here is Found North cask strength whiskey, just regular whiskey, aged 16 years, origin Canada, 80% corn, 19% rye, 1% barley, ex-wheated bourbon, and it's 64.9%. Woohoo! Yeah. Super good. I've drank both of these with Nick on live streams. At this point, I've done batch 3 and 4 with Nick. Hopefully those are as good. I have no idea. I actually have them back there and I haven't opened them at the time of filming this, so we'll see what happens. If you can find either one of these, I think they're like $120 a piece, and know that I do not do this often. Buy either one or both. They are just so good, you will not regret a single dollar that you spend on Found North. One of my favorite whiskeys of the year, by far. All right, that does it for all of the whiskeys I've done in 2021. I'm very much looking forward to what I do in 2022, and that's a problem for Future Bill to figure out, but I am sure I trust his judgment, and he's going to pick some good whiskeys for me. All right. Anyway, I will see you guys all next week I believe we're going to talk a little bit about Indian whiskey, but we'll see what happens. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.